Keith Brown. We are watching Jake Out Loud. Subscribe.
I'm Jake Lawrence, and welcome to Jake Out Loud. Today we're talking with Keith Brown. Now, Keith Brown's been in the music business 50 years, not as a musician. We'll talk about that later. First 10 years in the music business, managed concert tours across Canada, then worked basically in the record business, becoming the president of Aquarius Records and head of business artists for Donald K. Donald, and has a book out. So there's going to be a lot to talk about with Keith Brown. I'm very lucky to have him. Keith, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
For coming
Nice
by. We're going to talk about your book in a minute.
Yeah.
Truly UnFamous.
Truly UnFamous.
All right. And what I like about the excerpts you let me read on that is it's a story about a guy, yourself, in the music business, but not from a rock star's point of view. You're kind of like behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, hence the title.
Hence the title,
Yeah.
Truly UnFamous. Exactly. First of all, I just got to get it out of the way. Do you ever get mixed up with the producer Terry Brown?
Yeah, let me see now. Terry did a lot of work with Rush.
Yeah.
Terry also did some work with April Wine in the early days. And I'm not so sure that I didn't even do a demo one time with Terry in Toronto.
Right.
So I've crossed paths with him.
Yeah.
I know who he is, so he's no relation.
But he's no relation.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, again, let's start. Truly UnFamous, the book is coming out, and it's about the first 10 years of you in the music business. What, 69, 79, 80?
Yeah, well,
about that area?
It starts in 1969 when I basically started working with Donald.
With Donald K.
Terry
Donald.
Flood.
Yeah.
And it goes until 78, which is, at that point, I left Donald to go work for Terry. So I just kind of crossed the aisle from the concert business to the record business at that time. So the book kind of confines itself to when I was doing concerts between 69 and 78.
Right.
But in one chapter, in the case of April Wine, I have to sort of just wrap it up. I can't leave the band just at the point where they're ready to take off and not talk about briefly what happened in the next 4 or 5 years of that group scene. Because I got to see them from the other side of the fence at that point.
That's true. You got to see a lot of bands from this. But what gave you the idea of writing from that perspective, from that time slot, and not the other 30, 40 years you did?
Well, to be honest, I did originally write about the whole thing.
Okay.
And I just found that there was such a complete transition, not just in the subject matter so much as even the tone.
Yeah.
Even like just me and how I looked at things after I was in the record business trying to sell records and marketing and eventually getting involved in contracts and all the rest of that stuff. I found the longer I went into my career, the more I sounded like I was writing a textbook.
Oh.
Whereas the early stuff, it just sounded like a lot of fun. And I thought that might be a good area to isolate.
Well, I think the perspective is interesting, and I'm looking at it from a reader's point of view, because how many of us read a biography of Neil Young or Keith Richards and that, but this is from someone like you who was backstage, who saw the good and the bad and the dirt of it, and a perspective from someone who's not a musician, not a rock star.
Well, that's the idea of Truly UnFamous really is that I've read a lot of those, as you probably have, a lot of musical memoirs, biographies and such. And once in a while you pick up one that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Like Testimony, the Robbie Robertson book.
Yeah.
He's a great storyteller, and he's got some great stories to tell. Other ones are like, sort of like page turners. I don't know if you read Scar Tissue, the Anthony Kiedis book of Chili Peppers. Holy cow, it's quite a story too.
Yeah.
But it's a very sad, frustrating, bang your head against the wall kind of story. But then there's others where you sort of read it and it's I'm having trouble with my wife, and then I'm having trouble with my bones, and now I'm having trouble with drugs, and then I have trouble with my psychiatrist. I said, you guys missed the whole party. And I found there's a lot of books like that. And then there are other ones where, Clive Davis, I mean, that he really isn't.
Yeah.
That was more or less just mention every name in the music business over 500 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wanted to talk about what happens when you don't have any agenda. Like there's different kinds of truth, and one kind of truth is political truth. Like when you're being hired to make an artist look good.
Yes.
It's a job, and you take it seriously, and so on and so on. Not necessarily honest truth.
Yeah.
It's not like objective truth. And I was sort of freed from the shackles of having to polish people's credentials and make them look good decades ago. And so now I just look at it and say, well, it's I don't have any secrets to conceal. I might come out with some stuff that's a revelation because no one's ever talked about it, but it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
I just didn't want anybody to talk about it. There's other times too when I had to bite my tongue because I don't want some guy not to be able to cross the border because I reveal he was busted by the.
Yeah.
But even and it's not on the records because in the early '70s, if you got busted, the RCMP didn't necessarily hand the information over to the American authorities. Whereas today, of course,
It's a different story
you
today.
might never get into the United States
Yeah.
if they know you smoked got a pot possession in 1973. So
Yeah.
stuff like that, I steer off to the side. It's going to make someone's life more miserable.
So when you started doing this, your first jobs basically were at the old Montreal Forum,
Yeah.
dealing with the bands backstage. Is that where you kind of started
Well-
before you hit the road touring with anybody?
In the book, I don't know. I guess you saw. Did you see Laughing? Did I talk about Laughing?
Yes, I have questions
See,
about that
that basically
afterwards.
explains how I got into the business. And at that point, I was not working for Donald K. Donald Productions.
Yeah.
I was working for Donald, his partner Terry, and his other partner Bob Lem, who owned a club in downtown Montreal.
Yeah, now
But,
this-
but that had real links to Donald K. Donald Productions.
Yeah.
Because of that, I did my first gig at the Forum. Again, not as an employee of Donald K. Donald.
Right.
But he came to the club and he says, we need people to load equipment for the doors. Because the IATSE wasn't even in the Forum in those days.
Yeah, there
in
were no unions,
1969.
yeah.
So I lucked into that one. I got to work, my first show in the Forum was a Doors concert, but at that point I'm not really working for Donald. I worked for Donald K. Donald. He hired me after I got out of college.
Yeah.
Because I was going to college the whole time I was working at Laugh-In. And at that point I worked in his office and he wanted me to become a tour manager. Because, I mean, if you're a tour manager, you can't also be running all the Forum shows. Forum shows happen 12 months of the year.
Yeah, you'd have to be state put.
Yeah.
Tour manager, you're gone.
Tour
yeah.
manager, you're basically from March until November.
Yeah.
And you're nowhere to be found. Although you might be in Montreal a week here, a day there, whatever. But so what would happen at the Forum? I'd pretty much be assigned a given task as opposed to running the whole show. Whereas when I'd be out on the road, I was managing the tour. I was in charge of everything from soup to nuts, really.
Yeah.
Including setting up the tour, doing all the books, doing all the production, even doing the catering. Because they didn't have caterers in those days.
Wow. So, before we get to who you toured with, tell the story about Jim Morrison and the Doors. That's in the book.
Jim Carrey's. Okay, well.
The Jim, if you want.
Well, I've already set up the fact that Donald needed to get stagehands for that show.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're there, and I don't know when we arrived, but it probably took us 3-4 hours to set up all the gear.
Yeah.
And the stage manager, whoever the road manager of the Doors, must have figured I was pretty good at following instructions. So he says, "How would you like to be a Jim Carrey?" And I had no idea what that meant. I said, "Sure." He said, "Great, you get a backstage pass. That means you can have free refreshments. Oh, you should also get an assistant. We need 2 Jim Carreys, so get someone to help you." So I grabbed my friend Oli, and still didn't know what it was until after there was 2 opening acts that night. And after the second opening act, we were supposed to go to the dressing room.
Yeah.
And that's when we learned Jim Carreys are basically supposed to lock hands like this, 2
Right.
guys. And Jim Morrison is going to climb on to our little basket that we created. And we carry him down the hall, around the corner, out into the arena,
Now,
and
did you-
lift him up onto the stage, and his crew takes him from there.
Did you carry him on because he couldn't walk, or he just liked the idea?
Okay, well, I mean, I think he didn't want to appear wobbly.
Because we know what he ingested.
Because,
yes.
well, the thing was, I mean, Jim, this was in September, early September of 1969. And back in the spring, I think maybe in May, I could be wrong about that, but he'd done something in Florida. I want to say Miami, but I know it was in Florida someplace. He exposed himself on stage.
Yes, I know of that.
And apparently sometime in June or something like that, he was informed by his lawyer, no, there's a real chance you might spend time in Florida prison. And apparently from then on, Jim was drunk almost all
Yeah.
the time. Not that he hadn't been a serious drinker before then, but I think he was like sporadic, spree kind of guy.
Yeah,
But at this point, they wanted to make sure that Jim didn't have to walk to and from the stage.
therefore the
The
carriers.
Jim carriers were hired for every show. So anyway, me and Oli carry him there, and we're about to take off and go and watch the concert. And no, Jim carriers stay right here at the monitor desk, They're
Yeah.
not going anywhere. Sure enough, about 5 songs into the show, Jim Morrison pulls one of these kind of things,
Yeah.
falls over backwards, hits his head on, well, there's a tuning key. See, in a bass drum, there's these
Right.
little things you can tune.
Yeah.
The tuning key was sitting there, like sticking up, hits his head on that, cuts it open in the back.
Oh.
Jim Carriers, as if this happens all the time. Right? It's like a drill. They help Jim over to the side, me and Oli are there, we take him down, we take him back to the dressing room. he's sitting there drinking a beer, and they're patching his head up.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim Carrey's, take him back. So we took him back, and he finished the show. And I just kind of end off the story because we were invited to be part of a pool that they had at that time, where you get to choose a number from 1 to 12.
Right.
The number's on the face of the clock.
Oh, okay.
And 12 would be straight towards the audience, and 6 would be straight towards the backstage.
Right.
And all the other numbers would correspond. And the idea was at the end of every show, Jim Morrison would attempt to do a handstand.
A handstand.
Yeah, well, handstand. Like a 3
Oh, yeah,
handstand
okay.
on the
All
stage.
right.
And whichever direction he ended up falling, that would be the lucky number. So, we didn't win. It cost us $5, which was half our day's pay. But
Oh, jeez.
that was my first concert at the Forum. I mean, I'd gone there as a fan, but I never worked. So that was the beginning. And I said to myself,
This is quite
show
an
business
introduction.
This is how I'd like to be part of this.
Yeah, exactly.